Well, it has been a minute since I last uploaded a video. 2-3 weeks ago, I was all set to upload a status update, big goals for the fall. Here's how my training's going. Everything's on track. And then this happened. Cheers, y'all. How's it going? As I said in the intro, about 3 weeks ago, I think now at this point, I had a full video all scripted out. I was back on track for training. I had a goal marathon in mind. I was doing a kind of like low mileage, slow pace, steady HR dedicated base building. Plenty of time before a goal marathon to really just, like I said, build a very strong base so that I could build in some specific speed and interval training to really aim to crush a new marathon PR. That was 3 weeks ago, and then unfortunately suffered a non-running related injury that has sidelined me. I have not done any kind of physical activity over the last 3 weeks. Everything is starting to feel a little bit better. I think I'm ready to start introducing some activity again, but definitely don't want to get ahead of myself. Want to give myself plenty of time to heal, to make sure that I am doing it correctly, and of course, never want to re-aggravate an injury. Want to make sure it is completely healed before I put too much stress on it. But all of that being said, let's talk a little bit about the injury because it is certainly unique and somewhat confusing, elusive even maybe, but not even entirely sure what happened. That's the weirdest part about it. I can't point to a single event and say, this is where I injured myself. So that makes it a little bit odd. And again, why there's some confusion over what exactly happened. But long story short, or I guess long story kind of long, a couple weekends ago, I was in Kansas City for my sister's and her fiance's bachelorette/bachelor party, starting out as separate events and then coming together for one large celebration. But unfortunately, on night one, my sister suffered a much more substantial injury. She actually fainted and in her fall hit the edge of a stair, broke her collarbone in a couple places. So needless to say, required a massive change of plans for the whole weekend. Everything's okay now. Luckily, she's healing up well, but a long night in the emergency room. We were supposed to do camping, canoeing, etc. A lot of things that would not be comfortable with a freshly broken collarbone. So had to pivot to some new plans. And at some point throughout the weekend, again, unclear where, I'm guessing sometime on Friday, I woke up on Saturday with just like a stiffness in my hip. Honestly, I just thought I slept on it wrong. It wasn't anything serious. I was still moving fine. It was just kind of certain motions aggravated it, but really just thought it was stiff from sleeping in a new bed, maybe tossing and turning throughout the night. Who knows, but not really worried about it. Then Sunday waking up, again, it's still sore, but not too significant, but Sunday was our big travel day. My wife and I are running around the airport, flights getting canceled, trying to get on the new flight, and throughout the day, it got progressively and significantly worse to the point that I was having a hard time just standing up straight. The stiffness was right in like the crease of my hip and kind of hip flexor area. So because it was so sore, again, just couldn't really flex all the way. Also shortened my gait significantly because any kind of like stretch of my leg moving backwards would irritate it. So was limping significantly, having a hard time moving around, somewhat concerned. Also noticed a bit of a bruise in that area. I had had a hernia repair when I was much younger. The bruise was right at kind of where the scar is for the hernia, so that was also somewhat worrisome. Messaged a few people I know in the medical community to just kind of gauge how serious might this be, and most of the responses were, it's probably nothing too crazy to worry about. Definitely rest it. If the pain persists, go to see a doctor. So over the next couple days, no real improvement, was somewhat worried, and again, wanting to get back on the road, get back to training, wanted to get a better idea of how serious the injury was. So went to go see the doctor, established that something tore in my leg area. And the weird thing about the pain, or why we think it was somewhat delayed, is that the tear, I don't think, is actually what was hurting. Most of the pain they think was just from when it tore, a little bit of bleeding caused the bruise in there, and then some swelling as well, right at that crease. So just any kind of movement was causing that discomfort, causing that pain. but ultimately decided nothing too serious to worry about. It's going to heal on its own, just requires rest. Certainly a strange injury, and as I said, somewhat mysterious in the source. But thankfully, I am happy to report I'm feeling much better now, 3 weeks later, having done 0 physical activity. Like I said, it is right in the crease of my hip, so any kind of motion, I didn't really want to aggravate it, running, biking, what have you. I mean, that is a pretty major hinge for the body in motion, and so just didn't want to take part in any activity that might continue to add stress, letting it heal properly, letting everything kind of work its way out. And so far so good. That seems to be working. Lots of rest, lots of ice, lots of relaxation. It feels pretty much 100% now. I don't even really notice it. There's just certain motions, if like I move in a weird way, that might aggravate it again. But other than that, feeling good as new. So I am hoping, knock on wood, maybe this upcoming week to go for some longer walks and maybe some short jogs as well, just to see how it responds. Again, there's no pain right now when I'm up and moving around, so I feel like it should be fine, but definitely planning to take it easy, go for a short run, see how it feels in the days afterwards, just to make sure we are out of the woods. So all of that being said, I figured I would give an edited version of what my plans are for the fall and into the spring a little bit in terms of race goals. A lot of my focus recently has been on transitioning back to road marathon racing and emphasizing the goal of just wanting to improve my PR in that race. 3 weeks ago, I was in great shape, kind of had my eye on a goal marathon in early December. I had like 20 weeks of training, so plenty of time to base build, get in lots of speed training, strength training, etc., and really enter that race in tip-top shape. Obviously, that has changed substantially. We are only about 15 weeks out now from that race. So that would be a very abbreviated training plan, not to mention coming off of an injury. Just don't want to try to like ramp up too quickly. So we're going to see how that goes, what the plan is there. I'm not sure if I want to tackle a full marathon, although I do think marathon training just to cover the distance, just getting myself prepared for the distance could be a good way to establish a substantial base over the next couple of months to transition into the spring, and then hopefully use this to kind of get to I'm at like a plateau now, build to another level. So that way when I start building in my next level of training, can just go even further and just add to the training that I've done this fall, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. I'm not registered for any races. I've still got my eye on that December race. It's the Rehoboth Marathon in Delaware. It's also very flat. They do have a half marathon option as well, I believe. So there's a chance I might just opt for the half marathon to play it safe. We'll see, to be determined. But like I said, 15 weeks out from that. So just don't want to bite off more than I can chew and risk re-irritating this healing injury, and then just set the sights on the spring and really set myself up for some substantial success in the spring. I also think just mentally, I like that goal because I tend to train much better through the winter months. I have a harder time keeping up with consistency over the summer, the heat being one thing, but then also just with all of the travel and time off and everything like that, and my routine getting a little relaxed throughout the summer, I have a harder time sticking to a strict training schedule. So I think using the next few months to get back in a good rhythm, and then using that to hopefully build good habits for strong training in the spring is a great option. Another thing that I'll be juggling is my office, officially starting September 1st, is going back to 4 weeks in person, 1 day remote, presents a challenge, because even just going from 2 days at home to 1 day, I had strategically scheduled my remote days around my training schedule, because my commute is an hour and a half each way on a good day if nothing goes wrong. So when you're talking about 8 hours of work, 3 hours of commute time every day, plus just getting ready, meals, everything like that, doesn't leave a ton of free time for just everyday activities, relaxation, let alone training, etc. And so definitely going to be learning how to balance all of this with the 4 days in the office schedule, but looking forward to the challenge and looking forward to starting to look at what those spring goals might be. As I said, I am hoping to kind of, again, refocus towards that marathon distance. That's definitely what I would like to start focusing on. And I know there are a lot of great options in the spring, but also even as I said after Mohican that I was ready to get back to road races and kind of move away from trail, revisit trails every once in a while, a little bird named Todd has continued to chirp into my ears about potential ultramarathon goals for 2023. So we'll see. I think he's starting to sway me, but there is certainly a lot of work to do, and just really gotta figure out the schedule. Gotta start looking at my calendar for the spring and identifying what those big goal races are going to be. So there is sure to be a lot of excitement in the future, but right now it's a whole lot of this just kind of sitting and waiting until I can get back out there. I have been doing a lot more flexibility, mobility stuff, some strength work here and there, which has certainly helped and at least kept me busy during this time off, but really just looking forward to getting back to running. I feel like I was just starting to get back into a solid routine. I had put in a few weeks of consistent mileage, which was feeling so good, and then just brought back to a dead halt. So hoping that it doesn't last for too long, hoping that I am ready to get back out on the road and looking forward to sharing some miles with you in the near future. But thank you for tuning in. Just wanted to give a quick status update since I have been MIA for a few weeks, but that's where I'm at, and hopefully I will have more to report on shortly. So I hope you are enjoying your training, whatever you are working towards right now, and looking forward to seeing you out there soon. Cheers, y'all.